Good morning, everyone. You may be seated. Thank you. And I'll call upon Mrs. Williams that will be doing the welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to just extend a very warm welcome to all of you. And when I say all of you, I am referring to the academic staff from the Department of Radiography on the left-hand side, or my left-hand side, the colleague to my right here, and then also to our colleagues from the faculty. Thank you, Dr. Khadana, the HOD for Nursing Sciences, Dr. Danbuza from the Department of Pharmacy, for gracing us with your presence. Thank you very much for that. Then I would like to also say thank you and welcome to our senior students. Mrs. Conley, the Heart of our department, thank you very much and welcome back. Then to Miss Nivert, the one who is operating the camera, or the backhand is. Welcome everybody, and then last but not least, to our pledges today. The special people for us today, because this is quite a momentous occasion, okay? And you guys are the reason why we are gathered here this morning. So welcome one and I would like to take this opportunity to just address the pledges. You are probably wondering why I'm saying it's a momentous occasion, or even why are you taking part in the pledge? What does it mean to take a pledge? So, if I go back and think of what the definition of a pledge is and what it's out there for, a pledge is a commitment that you take. It's a promise that you make, undertake towards achieving a goal, a cause, an outcome. Okay? And therefore, by taking the pledge today, you are taking a step towards your goal, and that is to become a diagnostic radiographer. By choosing to become this diagnostic radiographer one day soon, you will form part of the healthcare profession. And there are many roles and responsibilities that are linked to being a healthcare professional. And an important one could be, once you are qualified now, is that you will be of, as well as in service to our communities that you will be serving. Okay? And that very last bit of being in service to our community or to our society, this allows you to live the vision of the Faculty of Health Sciences, which is to co-create critical thinking health science graduates with transformative action to change the world by being in service of society. So just by being a student within the Faculty of Health Sciences, you have already started your journey of being in service to society. And today, we're taking that step a little further. So please, don't take the pledge lightly, as it is a very big step towards achieving your goal of becoming an excellent healthcare professional and diagnostic radiographer. So without further delay, welcome to the Department of Radiography's second pledge ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams, for that warm welcome that you've extended to all these first-year students that will be taking the pledge, as well as to our guests. We are now going to call upon Mr. Campbell, also one of your lecturers, that will be doing the opening prayer. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Shall we bow our heads and pray? Eternal God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity to gather, O God, in this way. Father, I pray that you would bless the proceedings this morning, pray that you would stay in our first year students as they make this commitment before man and God. Come, Lord, bless everything that is to be done. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Okay, so guys, we are going to call upon Dr. Sobler. You have not been lectured by Dr. Sobler yet, but she is one of the colleagues in the Department of Radiography, and she will be talking to you about professional etiquette in the healthcare environment. So please welcome Dr. Sobler.
Stands.
Good morning, everyone. I am so glad that it looks like we are a full house here, since I have only seen 3, 6, or 4 students in my lectures from the last couple of weeks. Although I think I'm going to start lecturing. Okay, so I want to talk about professional ethics. And believe it or not, I had to change this date because the first time I gave this speech was to qualified radiographers. And it was in 2010, you won't believe it. But anyway, I'm not going to teach you. I'm sure you have a good teacher in ethics, as Dr. Van der Venter is teaching you that. But I want to just touch on the elements that the ethical is included in the ethical framework. So first one there is we're looking at the moral values. So that is emotional charged beliefs, and it's generally rooted within. So this in the social society where you are living, where you are going to work, your cultural society, and then also the religion and structure of your society. So we all have different ones. So it all depends on what kind of religion you are following. So many of the same morality themes occur in different societies. So how people should act towards one another, and safety and well-being of individuals and society as a whole. Then we get to ethics, and that is the science of morals, and that's why I started with morals. So studies the determination of what is good for the flourishing of individuals and society. And obviously we need rules in society, just as we have rules in research when we look at ethical considerations when we do research. So in society there is rules, and sometimes they're not necessarily written rules, but when your parents raise you, they get you to get to know these rules of how to treat other people. So management of moral issues is all called ethical code. So what is ethical professional ethic? It's more than just saying yes, please and thank you. Okay? That's the first thing I see amongst parents, what they teach children when they can start saying a few words, is to say please, and mummy starts with that obviously, and then to say thank you when you get something. So it's more than just good manners. When I got older, I used to say to the kids, listen, I've learned the manners already. I can now forget about them. You have to still learn them. But it doesn't work that way. So in society, you will have to have good manners your whole life. So the definition of this is the set of rules or customs which control accepted behavior in particular social groups or social situations. So it's a tool for cultivating good relationships and qualities that you need for career success. And that's what you are looking at. You want career success in the end. These are things like clinical leadership. How do you lead your team on the clinical platform when you get to be a qualified radiographer. Management skills. So maybe someday you become a manager and you will have to lead the people by managing them. Are you going to be a boss or are you going to be a leader? Then professional etiquette, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the rest of this one. And I have to rush. I think I had 5 minutes and now it became 15 minutes, so it looks like I am going to keep you here for longer. And okay, so the ABC of professional etiquette. There's 3 things when you go into your workplace, for instance. Appearance. What do you look like? What should you look like? The second one is behavior. How do you behave? Or how should you behave? And then the third one there is communication. How do you communicate with other people? Now, when I look at these ones, you have to abide by the rules, the dress code in your working environment. And obviously when I go to the beach, I'm not in my working environment so I can wear my bikini there. But I like to work, obviously. And then behavior, unfortunately you cannot communicate to people and communicate in swear words, because there is something called criminal enduro. And if you do have road rage, like I sometimes have in my house, because I have to drive from Jeffreys Bay to Port Elizabeth every day, or Kabeja every day, and I try and sort of organize my trip so that I don't get in too much traffic, because I am not a very, what do you call it, don't have that tolerance of people that make mistakes. So I try to avoid them. It's difficult, that might embarrass you. Okay, so critical link for your career success would be radiography is characterized by professional relationships, so that those professional relationships among different people in numerous settings. So if we look at the hospital, the health environment, you have the administrative personnel, and not just in your department, also in the hospital. So how do you interact with them? Your hospital personnel, your patients is the most important one, because they and the radiologists and the referring doctors, if you are in a private practice, is going to pay you, because the doctors, by referring the patients, and the radiologists by actually paying you if you work there. In the public sector, it works a little bit different, because you get paid by the government. But the government is represented by the people that are your seniors. Then also the public. And I have been in numerous situations by my husband or my sister had to take me by the hand and say, let's go, because they know my reaction is going to be explosive. Then also peers and the qualified radiographers that you will work with on the work integrated learning platform. Okay, so professional ethic is based on guiding principles like kindness, considerations, and common sense. And it helps to reform new alliances and enhance established ones. You have to know how to present yourself in a professional manner. That will make you stand up in your department. And if you want success in your job, you have to do more. And I've heard this thing that I often say that I'm doing more than 100%. And then some people ask me, how do you measure the more? But unfortunately, the more is just about working day and night. And then you get to an age where you decide this is enough. But when you are climbing the ladder in your career, you have to have an attitude for doing more than 100%. And that will increase your chances to career success. And I can actually say that I never in my career had to take a step backwards. Yes, I made mistakes. But somebody someday said to me, if you're not happy with this work, get another one. That's what they told me. In public sector, it's not that easy to get rid of me. But in private sector, they just do what they want to do. So unfortunately, that is when you decide, if I'm not happy here, get another job. Okay, so there's 7 tips that I just want to run through quickly. So this is to help you to polish your communication skills, strengthen your relationship with your patients, at home as well with your family, and then other healthcare professionals. Seniors being the qualified radiographers, the radiologists working, and in the public sector, they will be actually the head of the radiology department. The head of radiology will be your boss as well. I hate the word boss, I must just tell it that. They are my managers. Okay, and then the senior radiographers and colleagues. And your colleagues is now your peers as a student radiographer, but once you are in the a qualified radiography, your peers will be other qualified radiographers. So the first thing is always introduce yourself. So take initiative. They say hand out and just pleased to meet, or just pleased to meet you. I always had my hand out, and unfortunately I have quite a firm grip. And so I could always measure the men, and then sometimes you get a man that has a very soft grip. And they say a firm grip is actually saying that I'm your superior. So, sorry. Until I met somebody the other day on North Campus, another lecturer, and I introduced myself, and I, without thinking, put my hand out. And he took my hand, and my poor arthritis, I can tell you, I was so cross with myself afterwards. So it doesn't have to be hand out. You can just say, pleased to meet you. Talk in a confident voice. Don't sound as if you don't know what you're going to do. Because even if I didn't know when I was a student what I'm going to do, I would actually be confident. And if I don't know what to do, on that stage, we had the KC Clark and not the Montrado, but I had the KC Clark open at the back. So in those parts, we still had to put the 2 processes, or have time, wait for the X-ray, and when the X-ray gets out, in that time, I go and look in my head. What term do I have to do next? If I haven't done it ever in my life, not even lectured in it, I had to do it. I had to work on my own with another in my third year, as charge of the department. Okay. When you get to the patient, they're sitting in a waiting room, and you waiting there, might be a door, might just be a passage. You don't. When they get out and they start walking, we don't turn around to run away. Because now they don't know where you are, because you're running for the dressing cubicle. And you will stand at the dressing cubicle, and they haven't even actually got to the point that they can remember your face. They're looking for you. So please wait for that. Introduce yourself, your name and your surname. It took me years to do that on my side. I always felt like I'm promoting myself. If I say my name in female, my name in surname, sorry. And introduce colleagues, really introduce people to each other. I don't want to go into that. There is a code, how you should do it. But this is now about the patient. So I'm not going to say introduce, but they say you have to introduce the more senior person first, or you have to address him first, where you introduce a junior person to him. So there's a whole code. There's even a etiquette about how you should eat and use utensils when you go for a dinner. And I mean, we don't grow up with that. Sometimes, if you are really rich, you might be in a house where you are eating at a table we have all the knives and forks available, and all of the spoons at the top. So for everything in life, there is etiquette.
Fine.
Okay, so this is the story about the introduction. I'm going to skip that. So when you actually give your hand, make it a firm one, but we've learned from COVID that hands are the worst part for transferring the germs. So anyway, so if you do that, you have to go and wash your hands after each handshake. So the best is just to say pleased to meet you. But unfortunately, when you do give the hand, they will judge you by that handshake. They will say, oh, hand like this, you must have a poor personality or whatever, and a handshake like that, you are bossy. So be careful. And when you have to be confident, and you have to be firm, not too firm with the handshake. Stand up, straight, and then lean forward, make eye contact, and smile. It's hard to smile at people when you don't really like them very much. I know them. But there's a saying that you keep your enemies, your friends close, but your enemies closer. Yeah. So when you have enemies, make sure you keep them very close. You must always be able to know what is going to be their next move. Okay, so just also be cognizant about different cultures. For example, Hindu and Muslim men don't always like to shake the hand of a woman. And why arthritic pain, people may avoid handshakes due to pain. So if I put my hand out and they don't give their hand, and they don't say anything, I mustn't do like the rugby players on the field, when it's a match that is broadcast on the TV, and I can read their lips. I can actually read the word they're saying, because the referee are punishing them for an infringement, and then I read what they say. So that is unfortunately what some of us do. And a psychiatrist once said to me, you can do that as long as they don't say it. They don't see it. Also, you can't do it on TV. Okay, so in that case, if you had your hand out, just drop it. Then keeping conversation on track. So when you you must have the ability to connect to other people, especially your colleagues, your patients, and then the other seniors, and even the radiologists. I mean, as a junior radiographer, a student, I was quite shy, but I did grow a lot. And I wouldn't go to a radiologist and make conversation. Definitely not. Avoid inadvertently offending someone. So you have to know people to make sure whether you can actually say something that other people might find offending. But my colleague, I can do it to her because she knows me, and I can joke around with her. But other people might not feel the same way. Stay away from controversial topics. So please, my dad always said to me, don't talk about the politics, religion, and I can't remember the third one, but there was things that he said, if you don't want to come into a controversial communication, don't talk about these things. So talk about general stuff. Remember, you're the caregiver, so do not unload your problems on patients. Listen to your patients. So shut your mouth. Because I read something the other day in the paper where somebody said, and I can't actually repeat what she said. I think she's a writer, and she said what her grandma used to say to her when she said she wanted her to shut up. So, shut up. That's the word. And listen to your patient. What happens with us, not just the patients, even our family, while they are talking, we are thinking here, what can I tell this person about my experiences? And I'm not listening to what they're telling me. So, as young people, and I think this writer was actually referring to younger people than herself, where they would talk and the one would say something and the other one would say what was her experience regarding the same thing. And then eventually she went to a function with them and they were all talking and then pulled out their mobiles and showed pictures and funny things on their mobile phones. Eventually she said everybody was talking at the same time and nobody was listening. So listen, make sure you develop that skill to be able to listen without thinking, how can I tell them about my experience in the same way? And unfortunately, we do that. So they say, if you have trouble getting a conversation going, you can do the OIR. So you observe, you ask questions, and you reveal. And then if they tell you something, you have to ask them more or have empathy with what they're telling you. Then safe topics could be weather. Isn't that a safe topic, hey? Every time when you meet, I even have that safe topic with my office colleague. Traffic. Don't talk about traffic, please. Because that might really, if you talk about traffic, to me, it might be the worst topic. Sport, yes. Books and TV. Travel, yeah. I want to travel a lot. But I don't have this. You know what this is? It's money. And then current events. Talk about current events if they know it as well. I've tried to talk about current events with somebody that I give a lift every Monday to the university because she's only got one module to finish and then she'll be a teacher. And then I realized that she's not really listening to the news. So now I'm trying to talk even more, telling her about what's happening in South Africa. Okay, the best thing, the worst thing actually, is watch your body language. And I always said, you can always see on my face, and I guess on my body as well, exactly how I feel, unfortunately. And then there was these people that did a course to actually be able to evaluate your body language. They even went overseas to do a course there, and they were all like psychologists. And they were then they had this thing, they had to actually try to tell a lie without anybody knowing that they're telling a lie. So you know what happened? Even in practice, then they had to practice this. Even in the practice, there is a certain point where a certain thing you do with your eyes or something that gave that away. They couldn't tell the lie. Those skilled people thinking they can actually, and they know, they can see. So in interviews, they're bringing these people in now at workplaces to see if you're telling a lie or not. Okay. So your non-verbal communication is actually even more important than your verbal one. So stand tall with shoulders back, chin up. And no hands in the pockets, please. And I sometimes find that when I have something like a jean on, I would put my hands in my pockets. And my dad had a saying about hands in the pockets, and that's why I don't want them there. So don't put your hands on your hip or over your chest. So if I stand like this, I'm actually either I'm shutting you out or I am protecting myself. That's kind of body language. Go. and have a look at this. You'll see it's very interesting. Severe smile, or sincerely smile, sorry, to convey warmth and friendliness of a smile. So look at the eyes of a person to show interest. Now, I know there's certain cultures that don't like you to look them in the eyes, but I can't. This is what I am. If I'm talking to you, I would constantly be looking into your eyes, and I'm not challenging them. If they're not looking at me, then I feel that is rude. I want them to notice me while I am speaking and I'm talking to them. Okay. Don't wring your hands like I often do here in the front. So that's why I do this. Now suddenly I'm not wringing my hands, and then slowly I'm relaxing, and then I forget and I go back. So anyway, don't wring your hands or make a fist. Making a fist could actually show anger if you're making a fist. Like I can barely make a fist nowadays. Move with confidence and purpose, and don't drag or shuffle your feet. I worked in Ireland for, I think, 2 months, a month shy of 4 years. And my HOD there in the radiography department, she said the one thing that she was looking at when hiring a radiographer, and she liked to hire the South African radiographers, because she knew, and even Africa, because there was people from Zambia that was working there, and also other African countries. So she says she's looking at how they walk, how fast they walk. And when I started walking there, she said, wow, I can't believe it. One moment you're here, the next moment I can't see you, then you're behind me. And so she was just, that's when she told me about this thing, that she's looking at the way they move. How are they dragging their feet, or are they quick between what they do? So watch your body language. The patient can react, when feeling offended by comments, expressions, and body language. Avoid some gestures, and that's especially when you drive. Apologize immediately whenever necessary. Now, I was going to tell you something that happened to me about these expressions or about gestures. Yeah, that also brought me into trouble once, because we had a thing in our department when you're joking with me and I am not impressed. We had something that we showed our colleagues, just a small blur. And then one day, suddenly I was in trouble for it. So they stopped doing it. Stopped harassing us. Cultivate a positive work environment. Be polite and respectful to your colleagues. Show respect and make others feel valued. So when you have somebody and you think they're too slow and they're not doing the work and they don't know the work, teach them. Take them, guide them. Contribute to effective content communication. Contribute to effective team building. And I'm a rebel, and I'm not, I say it, I've been a rebel my whole life. But it doesn't mean that I don't know that there is rules and regulations, and I have to abide by that. But I've always been wary if I have to do something and I don't think that it is the right thing to do, and why can't it change? We are all like that. Okay, greet with a smile, hello and goodbye, but don't say hiya and see ya, because that's the two Irish words that I learned first day when I started working in Dublin. And then I said to them when they say hiya, I said, no, I'm fine, thank you, and you? And then one of my colleagues said, they don't really want to know how you are. They say, how are you? But they say hiya just to say how long. That's all. And then when I left in the evening, they said, see ya, meaning see you again. Okay. Offer to help and thank others for helping. So I know how scared I was when for the qualified tea room. I would never go there. I didn't even want to go in there to call a qualified to come and help me. So please don't be buddy-buddy with them, but go and ask for help if you need help. Okay, and avoid listening to gossip or complaining with colleagues. I was so positive when I came back from Ireland. I felt like I was a new person. And then I met with the Tiru at one of these hospitals. And I actually, every time when they're so negative, I would stand up and I would just leave because we were so negative. Participate in department events to show you are part of them. Okay, so disruptful behaviors. Some disruptive behavior can undermine culture and safety, and disrespectful language, demeaning behavior, outburst of anger. And unfortunately, these things can happen. So I can get to a point where I build up, and then suddenly I feel like I'm going to burst out. Okay, so don't throw objectives around. So the key is to keep your work environment positive. And they said I must leave, but I wanted to say about the dress for success. So make sure you abide by the dress code. Okay, that's number 7. So I'm not going to say anything more there. So decide how you want to be seen. And then I'm just asking a question. Do you think a t-shirt is okay with Superman to go to work? Don't think so. Okay, then the last one is present a positive professional image. Okay, that was the last one. So this is the tips, the 7 of them. And then they always say don't sweat the small stuff. But in health sciences, you have to. Thank you very much. I hope you had good, excellent success with your years.
Because mom would take it in the fixing camps had that would turn out in that it was one that were so good Jan them so down the bit. Who's did you fed up it? There was the that will go on so it was there well. It can change it kind of like we said this and what until it was is like we for up to my ear and see they didn't do this focus enough. Thank you very much, Dr. Krobler, for that very insightful. I think it was a very good lesson, and it was actually much needed. And it's a pity you didn't spend enough time on the dressing, because the way that we as radiographers and as healthcare professionals dress, the way that we dress is very important. We should be proud of our profession, the way we look. I have seen radiographers dressing very casually lately, and that is actually very... I don't know how the patients feel the way we look, because I know that the way we were taught as students, that the patients actually judge you according to the way you look. So the more professional you look, the more they will take you seriously. And so, and that is why when I lecture you in academic literacy, and I'm going to bring that in here, is that you are not just representing the radiography profession when you are at work, also in your private capacity. So that bikini that Dr. Frobler was talking about earlier, so you just need to dress appropriately at all times, because you are representing yourself, your family, the profession that you are studying towards. And then also, you're representing the university. And to me, that is very important. You must not bring the name of the university that you are studying at in disrepute. So, yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Grobner. That was a very good talk that you have given us. So now we are coming to the part where you will be taking the pledge as first-year students into the healthcare profession. And I'm going to welcome Mrs. Hutchison to do the pledge with you. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hutchison.
The bus. Yes, sir. Okay. First year students, please can you open the envelope and take out your pledge that is inside?
And faculty's values as I embark on developing myself into a professional in service of society. You may go.
Members of family, friends, educators, and colleagues, I take this pledge as a radiography student within the health science faculty. I pledge to uphold the university and faculty's values as I embark on developing myself into a professional in service of society.
In my pursuit to becoming an excellent health professional, I promise to uphold the values embraced by Nelson Mandela University as I embark on my journey toward becoming the full version of myself.
In my pursuit to becoming an excellent health professional, I promise to uphold the values embraced by Nelson Mandela University as I embark on my journey towards becoming the full version of myself.
I promise to uphold the faculty's values of integrity, professionalism, excellence, accountability, social responsiveness, and resilient wellness.
I promise to uphold the faculty's values of integrity, professionalism, excellence, accountability, social responsiveness, and resilient wellness.
As a radiography student, I will do my best to understand and respect my academic and personal responsibilities, my freedom of expression, my duty to serve others, and the environment that I share with others.
As a radiography student, I will do my best to understand and respect my academic and personal responsibilities, my freedom of expression, my duty to serve others, and the environment that I share with others.
I will strive to be a reflective student, using every opportunity presented to develop in my profession.
I will strive to be a reflective student, using every opportunity presented to develop in my profession.
I will honor those who teach and mentor me, as well as those who guide my practical skill development.
I will honor those who teach and mentor me, as well as those who guide my practical skill development.
I will continually embark on learning with gratitude and humility. In this, I will not be swayed by greed, prejudice, or selfish ego in the practice of my profession.
I will continuously embark on learning with gratitude and humility. In this, I will not be swayed by greed, prejudice, or selfish ego in the practice of my profession.
I will apply myself towards developing conscientiousness, towards social justice and equality, and will strive towards internalizing a humanizing approach.
I will apply myself towards developing consciousness, towards social justice and equality, and I will strive towards internalizing a humanizing approach.
I will continue to pursue excellence and share my knowledge with others.
I will continue to pursue excellence and share my knowledge with others.
I will act with endearing respect for the dignity of human life.
I will act with enduring respect for the dignity of human life.
I will hold sacred the trust of my patients and respect the information that they confide in me.
I will hold sacred the trust of my patients and respect the information that they confide in me.
I will uphold the rules of conduct related to the profession of radiography, as outlined by the Professional Board of Radiography and Clinical Technology, under the auspice of the Health Professions Council of South Africa.
I will uphold the rules of conduct related to the profession of radiography as outlined by the Professional Board of Radiography and Medical Technology under the auspices of the Health Professions Council of South Africa.
Finally, I will do all in my power to help my patients reach physical, mental, and spiritual health, and I will strive for this balance in my own life.
Finally, I will do all in my power to help my patients reach physical, mental, and spiritual health, and I will strive for this balance in my own life.
May I always have the courage and character to hold these principles sacred from this day forward as I place myself into the service of humankind. This pledge I make solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
May I always have the courage and character to hold these principles sacred from this day forward, as I place myself into the service of humankind. This pledge I make solemnly, freely, and upon my honor.
Thank you. I think you deserve a round of applause.
Congratulations to all the first years for taking this pledge. And it is most probably one of the most important commitments that you have taken in your professional life. And I'm sure you are aware by now that in your 4th year you will be taking the oath as a soon-to-be qualified radiographer. So welcome to the healthcare profession, and I hope that you will actually take those words to heart and do your clinical practice with keeping those words that you've just stated in mind. So well done. I think we can give them another round of applause. Great. So we have almost come to the end of our ceremony. I would like to call on Mrs. Edwards that will be doing the closing. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards.
Good morning, everybody. I wish to extend a heartfelt thank you to our distinguished guests, Dr. Kadana and Dr. Dubosa. I also wish to thank our academic staff who tirelessly availed themselves to attending page walks in the radiography department. Also want to thank our 3rd and 4th year students for setting a wonderful example to our 1st year students. And very importantly, thank you to the 1st year students for taking this oath and attending this pledge ceremony. This is the start of a wonderful journey you are embarking on, and there is much to learn. And open your minds and be authentic in what you do. Be proud of what you're doing. Take responsibility for that which you will do here and in the workplace. I also want to thank the Communication Media Department for live streaming this event. And then a special thank you to Mrs. Conley for making all the necessary arrangements to make this happen. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Edwards. So now we are at the end of this ceremony. Please stand for the academic procession to exit the venue.